Welcome to Leading Veterinary Teams, the podcast for people-first leaders in veterinary medicine who are ready to ditch the burnout script and lead with purpose. I'm Suzanne Thomas, veterinary technician, executive coach, and fellow leader in the trenches. Around here, we talk real-life leadership, boundaries, influence, team culture, and what it actually takes to build happy, high-performing hospitals. No fluff, no guilt, just the truth, some tools, and maybe a little tough love. If you're ready, let's get into it.
Thank you so much for joining. This is Alex joining us today. Alex, thank you again. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in vet med? Anyone who has had the pleasure of connecting with you on LinkedIn has seen your amazing bio, right? But tell us your story, because I think that it's a little bit more than what we can see on the internet.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you again, Suzanne, for having me on. Again, anytime I get to retell my story, I get to relive bits of the journey that we tend to forget. And it happens, sometimes we get stuck in day-to-day life situations, and sometimes we tend to forget the journey that got us here. So probably like most of your listeners out there, I started with an infatuation for animals, watching the Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, Net Geo Wild. Obviously, one of my great idols being the late Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. Even to this day, when I catch myself looking at lizards outside or anything like that, I get like an instinctive Australian accent for some reason. And again, I ducktail that back to watching this guy on TV and wanted to obtain something like that, just being involved in the animal profession at some capacity, right? And I remember very clearly, I think I was about 9 years old, and I was watching this show on Animal Planet called Emergency Vets, and it was a camera crew following the day-to-day activities of a technician in a veterinary animal hospital setting, right? And I remember very vividly pointing to the TV and telling my mom that when I grew up, I wanted to be that person, right? And of course, coming from a Hispanic household, my mom would wish that I was pointing to be that doctor. But what I was actually pointing to was that technician, because at the end of the day, guys, and we all know this, the doctors are the brains of the organization. But we make the hospitals move. We're the inner workings that make that beast move day in and day out, from the receptionists in the front to the kennel assistants in the back to the technicians in the treatment area in the surgical ward. Like, we make it move. We make it move. And the doctors understand that. And again, here in Miami, Florida, most in particular, we didn't have as many like vet tech or vet assistant programs like we have now. So back then, as soon as I graduated from high school, I already knew that this is a profession that I wanted to be in. I had realistic expectations on myself. I knew I wasn't going to be an astronaut. I knew I wasn't going to be the president of the United States, but I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian assistant or a veterinarian technician, whichever one came first. So sure enough, as soon as I graduated from high school, I enrolled in an online EDU via Penn Foster to become this veterinary technician. Got my certification with those guys. Got my first job at this place called Town and Country Animal Hospital here in Kendall. They happen to be an AHA accredited animal hospital, which is part of the American Animal Hospital Association. So I always looked at them as like the Ritz-Carlton of animal hospitals, right? And standard of care and things like that. So started out with those guys, literally started out as a kennel assistant and rose all the way to be their lead dental technician in that one animal hospital in particular. Out of my 20-year career, 10 of those years was in that one practice in particular, which, is very damn rare in this profession for a technician to stay situated in one spot for so long. But again, I attribute that to not only the leadership there, but the fact that the veterinarians there kind of motivated us, they pushed us, and most importantly, they utilized us to the max, meaning that I had the ability that most technicians or assistants don't have, is that I literally got thrown into the fire, meaning that as the assistant there, they're like, hey, look, man, we need somebody to help us with these dentals. And I was like, can I learn? They threw me in there. I learned. I attended some courses to take CE credits, but I never really truly applied it towards that specialty. But the fact that the doctors there were so trustworthy in us as technicians to allow us to build up our skill set, And the fact that I just got thrown into there, I was like, yo, this is exactly what I wanted to do, right? And I excelled at that to the point that we all know doing the day, like our job is different than people who have 9 to 5s. We never know what's gonna
For
walk in
sure.
the door. One
Yeah.
moment we could be there playing with puppies, the next minute hit by car, the next minute after that a parvo case, and then
Yeah.
sprinkled on top, unfortunately, a euthanasia. And we have
Yeah.
to learn how to kind of juggle these emotions. And I think that's what I loved about the job so much is that you can switch on a dime from being sympathetic, with a client there to automatically, hey man, we got to get going. We got to put this catheter in. We got to set up this surgery. And that always kept us on our toes. And I think that's what kept me in there so long, into knowing that the impact of our work, we see it right then and there. We see the impact of our day in and day out. We see the impact there. And while my tenure there as a technician, we always wanted to do more. This is where I also became a certified canine massage therapist. And the reason why that whole started, Suzanne, is that when we're waking up animals from anesthesia, we're there rubbing them. We're trying to like, hey, wake up,
Yeah.
pinching the nose and things like that, hitting some major pain points there. And I realized, wait a moment, Alex, there has to be more. There has to be more to this. So I started looking into, massage therapy schools for dogs. I got the certification with those guys. I think it took me like a year and a half. And then I started as a joke massaging my friends, my neighbors' dogs. They either had arthritis, were either recovering post-operatively from like ACL repairs, FHOs, and things like that. And I started to
Yeah.
realize, like, man, these animals are doing a little bit better, along with their pain
Yeah.
management and things like that. And I said, damn, Alex, maybe I could create a little, side hustle, a little something
Yeah.
to offset my technician salary, which is not much, And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, I'm like, maybe I could do something extra here, right? So this is what then led me to start Dogapy. And where I got the name from, obviously dog and in therapy. And I just created it and
Yeah.
smashed them together and came up with Dogapy. And
Love it.
I started that little service. I would get clients from my job on my days off. Sometimes even during my lunchtime as a tech, I'll sneak off, go to the client's home, massage the dog, makes that extra money that way. And it got to the point, Suzanne, where I started to videotape some of my cases and I started to put videos together and I started putting it on YouTube with the hopes of maybe some animal planet executive guy is going to see it and just be like, yo, this guy's doing this unique service down in Miami. It's already weird enough that this dude's massaging dogs. Let's go down there and see what he got going on. That didn't happen. Animal Planet didn't come knocking on my door.
Hey, it could still happen, right? Like
Yeah,
that the
but
next Steve Irwin is still out
yeah.
there,
So I got lucky in the sense that the local news found me via that way. I was able to massage one of the news anchors' dogs there on camera. So that was like my first,
That was so cool.
that was my first introduction into like, yo, Alex, like you can still be passionate about animals, but you could also create some type of a business out of this. And
Yeah.
did the Dogapy thing there for a while, and then that's when I realized, like, man, I like that's it. Like I can still be in this profession. I can still be this technician and now I just sprinkled that entrepreneur spirit into it. And
Yeah.
I've always had an entrepreneur spirit at heart. I attribute that a lot to my upbringing, being raised in a single household of one mom trying to raise 2 kids, meaning that if I ever wanted anything extra, my brother and I would have to figure out some ways or some means to
Yeah.
obtain it, without overbearing my mom. So that's when I realized like there's more to this. There's more to this profession than me just clocking in and assisting the veterinarian, so to speak. I could do major more impact in this profession.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that your story really speaks to the how many different avenues there can be, right? Like you can come into this profession in so many different ways and you don't have to just be a technician in a clinic, right?
Yeah.
And I think that even you brought up so many different things for me as you were talking, right? And the first being you were watching this TV show and your mom probably thought you wanted to be the doctor. I recently went, my kids, I have twins and they were up until yesterday in first grade. And I did the like reading the book to the kids thing, and I brought a book that was I want to be a veterinarian. And as I was reading it, I had this like spark in my brain of like, why is there not a book that says I want to be a veterinary technician? Why am I'm reading this book to these kids and I'm not a vet. And I'm just like, as I'm reading it to them, it was like my whole spark was gone because I was like, I'm reading this whole thing to them about how all these wonderful things that you can do as a veterinarian. And I'm like, but you can also be a technician and you can also do this, as
Yeah.
I'm reading it to them. And then they're asking me all these questions about being a doctor. And I'm like, I want to tell you all the other things you can do too. And so like that came up for me while you were talking. And, so amazing that as such a young child, right, you were immediately drawn to that. I didn't know that a technician existed until I was 20. And so, that's one thing, right? And then coming into the industry and realizing so soon that there's so many other things that you can be doing, and like pulling from that entrepreneurial spirit and saying like, maybe I can try this, and I'm still working in a clinic, but maybe I can do something with that. And it just goes to show that, if you have an idea, try it, right, and see what happens. And
Yeah.
it can
And
bring this whole new world into your world and
yeah.
benefit patients in a way that maybe wasn't available to them before. So that's so cool.
Yeah, and that gave me goosebumps. If I had hair on my head, you would probably be able to see it when you mentioned that. And it's that, and ideas pop up, Suzanne. What I mean by that is that, so 20, you're gonna love this because it segues perfect into those aha moments that innovators and inventors and entrepreneurs speak about, right? So 2016, right? I'm sitting there at the clinic over at Town and Country Animal Hospital. I'm about to be 30 years old. I see the writing on the wall. I see younger, fresher, hungrier technicians coming into the profession. And self-consciously, I always dealt with the fact that I never wanted to be viewed as the old guy in the clinic that couldn't be a doctor because I never wanted to be a doctor. I was always
Right.
aspiring to be that technician, right? So sure enough, I'm sitting there 2016, clear as day. I'm binge watching multiple episodes of Shark Tank with my 6-year-old son, Kason, at the time. And I'm scratching my head and I'm like, damn, this dude just came on here, created some product, a service, or a business, and something they had firsthand knowledge in, right? Like something they can improve and make better, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there scratching my head and I'm like, wait a minute, Alex. What in the veterinary profession can be improved and made better and definitely safer, not only for the technicians performing the task, but for the everyday pet owner and most importantly for the patients that we're treating, right? And I happened to stumble across what I've coined one of the most overlooked aspects in the animal care profession, and I know everybody's going to relate to this, is the dreadful nail trimming process in animals. We hate trimming animals' nails. I don't care how much of a skilled trained technician or assistant you are. I don't care if you're a gold star celebrity groomer. You're going to nip the quick. And
Yeah.
when we nip the quick, first we gotta yell for our fellow coworkers to find that jar for us because half of us are so confident in our skills that we're like, man, I'm not gonna hit the quick on this. I'm gonna do it. And then you run into that second nail, damn, hit the quick. Hey, can you bring me the styptic powder?
Yeah.
Coworker comes, I told you were gonna nip the quick. Here's the styptic powder, right? We have to open up that jar, pour the powder on the table, dab our fingers. You know the
A
whole gamut that
mess.
goes with that.
It's a
A
mess.
mess, right? So in 2016, I said, you know what, Alex, this has to change. There has to be a safer, faster, and definitely a hygienic way of applying styptic powder to an animal's injured nail. Little did I know that that idea was going to take me on a 4.5 years journey through the patenting process. I secured 2 U.S. utility patents on the first ever disposable styptic powdered cartridge and the first ever 3-in-1 pet nail clipper with an integrated stainless steel nail file right on the actual handle, virtually making it a 3-in-1 tool. You can cut the animal's nail, file the animal's nail, and most importantly, you have access to that disposable styptic powder cartridge, all in one tool. Little did I know, like I mentioned, it was going to take me to that, past the
Yeah.
prototyping, trademarking it, that in 2022, even when I first thought of the idea in 2016, I tattooed the name of the brand Clip Trio on my forearm because that's how all in I was that I was going to bring this product to market because I believe a lot in the law of attraction and affirmations. And whether
Yeah.
or not I was destined to run into this problem and come up with the solution, I kind of already knew it was lined up for me, right? So 2022 was my breakout year, and I was able to openly speak about Clip Trio, hopefully coming out to market either at the end of this year or beginning of 2026. I've been on 2 veterinary magazine covers. I won 5 awards so far, and Clip Trio hasn't even came out to market yet. That's how much of a bolstered brand name that I built on my back day in and day out as a technician turned entrepreneur, that you would think that I'll be rolling in the dough already, that I was on Shark Tank already. And the fact that I bootstrapped myself all the way this way just further shows that my resilientness and my grit and my tenacity and just my
Wow.
sheer persistence is was gaining me this traction and gaining me this notoriety that I'm getting in the industry. And while I had that kind of going on, I've always wanted to have a social calling attached to me, which is what led me to start PetTrio Charity, along with this organization by the name of CARES. This is the Companions Animals Reform for Equity. It's a BIPOC-led animal welfare organization headed up by James and Jennifer Evans. They heard my story back in 2022. When they heard that, I said, hey, man, I want to start my own nonprofit because my goal is eventually to donate a clip trio for every animal that gets adopted from a rescue organization I plan on partnering up with. But most importantly, I'm a big advocate for more vet assistant programs in our public schooling here in Miami-Dade County. I've been fortunate for the last 4.5 years. I speak at the 5 vet tech programs here. Every time the student body, they see my story, they hear it, they see the path that I've laid out, I'm introducing them to this profession and letting them know, like, hey, don't be afraid with the stigma of you have to be a veterinarian to be in this profession. No, you get your
Yeah.
foot in the door, whether you're an assistant or a technician, and just look at your options. Look at the options you could take. Look at the path that I chose. I chose entrepreneurship, philanthropy, but I'm never going to take my scrubs off. I can wear a
Yeah.
suit on top of my scrubs, as dumb as it may sound, like I'm some superhero or something like that. But I'm never going to forget the scrub suit that got me to this position, because if I was never in this position or in this profession, I would have never thought to create Clip Trio. I would have never
Yeah.
thought to create PetTrio Charity. So it all just ducktails back to, like, I just got into the profession and I found a way. I created a way, and hopefully this will be an avenue for other techs to see out there, like, hey, man, if Alex was able to do these things, why can't I? Because at the end of the day, and I always leave my messages with that, I'm no different than anybody on this planet. I brush my teeth the same, I tie my shoes the same, I wipe my butt the same. I just so happen to have
Yeah.
a passion for something for so long that I attribute my late grandpa, who literally was the one who stuck me in front of the TV. I will share those moments with him of watching the Animal Planet, the Discovery Channel. So every time again I get to tell my story, I just get to relive that stage that I shared with my grandpa, because if it wasn't for him sitting me in front of that TV, who knows what career path I would have chosen. And given the environment that I was raised in, I grew up in, chances are I probably either would have been in jail, I probably would have been, a plumber or a carpenter, but not something that I was truly passionate about, like when it comes to animals and being a technician, you know?
Don't know about that. I think that life has a funny way of putting us where we're supposed to be. I'll tell you that I said before that I didn't know what a vet tech was until I was in my 20s, right? And so I you know went to college originally for psychology and then switched to business, and I thought I was going to be a business manager and all of these things. I'm going to own a business someday, and that was my thing. And then all my businesses that I was in retail, and so all the retail stores started closing, and I was like, I don't know what to do with my life. And my mom was like, well, you've always wanted to be a veterinarian. And I was like, I did. And she was like, you did. And I was like, I did. And so I started looking at programs and whatever, and I got into this. I got into school and went back to school as a second degree and started a pre-vet program because I was like, I guess I wanted to be a veterinarian. And then I started working in a clinic and immediately was like, I don't want to be a veterinarian. I want to do that. And switched to, veterinary technology, got a bachelor's in veterinary technology, and the story goes on from there. And now I'm in leadership. So I did wind up going back into management, but in a funny way, the world got me into animals because I did always want to work with animals ever since I was a little kid. I just kind of lost my way there. So I think it's funny that life finds its way to send you where you're supposed to go. So even if you got derailed at some point in your life, I'm pretty sure you'd find your way back here because listening to you speak, you're so passionate about this industry and helping people find their way to this industry. That is very apparent. That I can't imagine that you would, even if you were like, you know what, get out of here, I'm not doing vet med anymore, for whatever reason, you'd find your way back. I can't imagine
Yeah,
you
yeah,
would not be in this industry.
yeah, I can't shake it off because I know like the career choices that we create. I know that the career choices that we pick, the things that we attain materialistically wise, doesn't make us. Like it's not our identity.
Yeah.
But I enveloped myself so much into this and with animals and things like that that it's who I am.
Yeah.
It's who I am. You know, it resonates with me so much that uh and I can see now how with the experience that I have and like the knowledge that I obtained over the years, if I could just kind of give that to the next generation of students and letting them know, like, hey, look, man, if I was able to do these things without the resources that I had, imagine you now, you know, being with this stuff now, the more
Yeah.
possibilities that you have with technology and so forth, that yeah, you can surpass anything that I'm doing because of the 10 steps that you guys are already ahead. And I
Yeah.
think you're gonna love this facet of my next journey here with PetTrio Charity. Um, Down here in South Florida, we got the animal services. That's like the county resources for vaccines and spays and neuters
Yeah.
and things like that. They have this trailer or this mobile clinic called the Wow Mobile, which is the Wellness on Wheels. It's a trailer that they park in underserved areas for 3 months out of a time, offering free vaccines for the community, typically underserved, you know, Latin communities, things like that. And I realized, wait a minute, Alex, I'm speaking at these vet tech programs. I think 4 of the 5 vet tech programs that I speak at have like fully functioning animal hospital setting, but they're not being utilized to their max. And I say, you know what, Alex? What if I connect animal services wild mobiles to these vet tech programs that I identify to where we start parking these trailers at these programs? Not only now are we giving the students the hands-on experience, the workforce development aspect, volunteer hours, and so forth, but now we got the whole community involved because you know the students are going to go back and tell their parents are going to tell their neighbors, hey, they're offering free vaccines over here at the school Monday through Wednesday, or whatever the case may be. And now I'm on the cusp of starting that January 2026 and something I'm going to be calling the Pause and Youth Wellness Tour, to where now these students are going to have the ability to see or participate in, oh, that's how you check in a client. Oh, I got reception duty today. Oh, I got tech help today. Oh, I got kennel help today. And now we build this ecosystem of education, resources, and community impact. And nobody down here in Dade County was doing it. I saw a void. I spoke to various county commissioners that I have on board already. School board superintendents are on board already. The school district is on board already. Animal Services Department is on board already. And this is something that I feel when January 2026 comes, I think this is something that's going to further cement me here in Miami-Dade County of being like, yo, we didn't even know that guy existed down there in Homestead where I'm from. And you mean to tell me that this dude has been there the whole time and nobody's tapped into that guy? You know, he's been on
Yeah.
magazine covers, he's winning awards, and he's just some dude in Homestead. And if I can make that a realization, which I'm planning up to now, I've been planning the last 2.5 months, but this is something that won't kick off till January. I
Yeah.
got a feeling it's something that's truly gonna further put me in the industry as okay, that dude deserves a title as that technician turned entrepreneur and philanthropist because his body of work is showing it. He's not talking it. You can go back and
Yeah.
see the
Yeah, you're
impact
walking
that
the
I'm
talk.
doing,
Yeah,
you know?
100%, 100%.
And
And I think you're walking the talk, and I think that it's not just Miami-Dade, right? It's you're showing what is possible and paving the way for others that can do
yeah,
this elsewhere. And I think that is I can't stop smiling because I think that is absolutely incredible what you're doing, and
yeah, and then
it is
like I mentioned,
so
like
needed.
if I could again prove this model here, this is something that could take nationwide adaptation. You know,
Yeah.
there's another technician out there in another state that may be thinking the same thing I'm doing. And I
Yeah.
literally laid out the blueprint, like, hey, do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. And eventually, by the time you know it, this could be something that could take nationwide precedence to
Yeah.
the point where, like, especially nowadays, like, I understand a lot of school districts and a lot of, teenagers and students are, oh, technology, AI, computers, screens. Okay, I understand that. But, let's go back to the nitty gritty. Let's get our
Yeah.
hands dirty, our feet in the dirt. Like, let's do some hands-on work, and I honestly feel that if I could prove out this pilot program, what I'm trying to do down here, again, this is just gonna hopefully catapult me into other levels because as I'm going through my journey, I'm reaching certain levels and I'm realizing like, shit, man, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of impact work
Yeah.
here. And
Yeah.
sometimes it goes unnoticed, but I try not to, and this is another thing in leadership as well that a lot of people understand. Like, I don't look for the instant gratification. Meaning, like,
Yeah.
when I go to the gym to work out, I know tomorrow I'm not gonna have a big bicep or a tricep. No, no.
Yes.
It's gonna take me some time, but eventually it's gonna come. So you delayed that instant gratification. Same thing like if you're on a diet. If you know you're trying to lose weight, man,
Mm-hmm.
don't look at the cookies. Wait,
Yep.
wait, and
I
then go
I
back and eat the
literally
cookies.
I recently did a video all about that you don't see the things every single day. You have to put the work in every single day. The results come. You just have to put
Yeah,
the work in because
and and
it's just like a workout. If I did my bicep curls today, I'm not going to write exactly what you just said. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
and I learned that too the hard way in the sense like I don't know if it's like an Aries thing, because I'm an Aries. I don't know if it's like if I think of something, I want it done right now. And I realize, no, Alex,
Yeah.
no, it don't work like that. The world doesn't revolve around you, bro. You have to just do the work in and know, like, hey, man, I might do this work and nothing might not come about it. But I've
Yeah.
realized when I do the work, I don't have that like I'm not married to the result of it. Like I know it's gonna come. May not come now,
Yeah.
may not come in 2 weeks, may not come in a month, but eventually it's gonna come because the work leads up to it. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
need that motivation to keep me moving because if I was to quit early, of all the things that I had to overcome, all the obstacles of doubt, imposter syndrome, self, just not believing in myself, I probably would never gone to this profession in year one. But I built that upon myself to realize, like, no, no, I'm gonna continue, I'm gonna continue, oh, there's a no here, I'm gonna continue, oh, there's a yes here, and just continue and continue and continue. And by the time I know it, I look back and you see all the pit stops that you took, but you saw that
Yeah.
you kept going. You never let any of those barriers stop you. And that's a very important trait to have, not only as a human being, but as a person. And just realizing that in this life, unfortunately, if you want to create something or be successful at something, you just got to keep trucking forward because it's not going to be given to you. It's not going to be handed to you. You just got to keep moving with that same persistence of when you thought about the idea or the concept or
Yeah.
whatever it is you're trying to obtain.
100%. And so I want to go back really quick to something you said early on in this conversation about early in your career at your first hospital. You, the doctors trusted, or at least still probably still do, but in your experience, they trusted the technicians, they trusted the team to do the work. Technician utilization was a huge deal in your hospital. And so I kind of want to dig in a little bit about how influential that was for you early on in your career, because as I'm sure you know, that is not the experience for a lot of people. And so I just wonder how influential that was in such an early pivotal time in your career as a veterinary technician, and how that may or may not have shaped your ability to then do the things that you have done since. Like, do you, and some of this is hypothetical, do you think that if you didn't have such supportive doctors early on, that maybe you would still have done what you've done, but maybe it would have taken longer, or maybe it wouldn't have been realized in the same way, or do you think that didn't really affect anything?
No, that super, super affected me in the sense like, and I remember clear as day, I was the kennel assistant in the back, and I was like chopping at my gums for the opportunity to be in the treatment area. Like, damn, I want to be there. See, that's where the action is. And the philosophy at the animal hospital there was, what was it? Teach one, do one, show one. I think
Yeah.
something of that in
Teach
threes
one,
like
do it.
that.
Yeah. See, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh man. I'm gonna get to see one being done. In this case, it was a catheter placement, and I've seen maybe a handful of catheter placements already. And we had the 3-tape rule there. We only needed 3 tapes. Only needed 3 tapes to secure a catheter, and that's a philosophy that the doctors had there, to the point that I would see the doctor hovering over that technician, telling them, "Oh, hey, 3 tapes. I better not see not one blood drop. After you shave the leg, I want to see that hair in the trash. When you pour your alcohol, you do your swabs. I don't want to see the table wet, and I sure as hell don't want to see more than 3 tapes." So while I'm seeing that, I'm like, okay, I already know what is expected of me as a
Yeah.
technician, right? And my skill set. So I watch it, 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 I watch it. Dr. Winky, his name was Dr. Winky, as funny as it may be, Dr. Eric Winky. 68-year-old man, old school medicine guy. It was my opportunity to go, shaky at first. You know how your first poke is shaky.
Yeah.
And I got this guy hovering over me, 6'3" dude hovering over me. I'm like, when he sees that I took the proper steps, shaved, trash, clean, shaky catheter placement, no blood drop, 3 tape, he was already like, "You've been watching, right?" And I was like, "I've been watching." And ever since then, he just kept adding more stuff. But I would watch first, see what's expected of me, and then execute on that and just keep that same standard, to the point that the team that I worked with, we weren't greedy, in the sense that we always wanted to be the ones placing catheters, because it happens. Like, yo, I'm trying to get 20 catheters before the end of the month, or what the case may be. And no, we knew how to work efficiently together. We knew where each of our strengths were and each of our weaknesses were, to where we kind of already knew, like, hey, look, man, I can't hit this vein because this pet's dehydrated. They'll be, "Hey, Alex, man, you're good with catheter placements. Boom, take this one, and then I'll give you my wound care," or whatever. And we'll swap out like that. And by having that family, and everybody that I worked with there, Suzanne, lasted 10, 15, 20 years. They put in their time in these clinics. These weren't techs that were coming in for a year at a time. No, these are people that came in, they were greeted like family, taken care of like family. And then when the loyalty is like that, it's hard to cut, because
Yeah.
I could see in my story, maybe like 4 or 5 years into it, I was like, I can't leave these people. I can't leave these people.
Yeah.
I'll either have to be moving, or my house will have to be on fire, like, to relocate.
Right.
But the loyalty to them was so strong, is because they got me in at 18. They molded me, they taught me, they educated, they invested in my education. And I was like, I can't abandon these people. The day I leave here is because I'm going on to something else. And that was my transition phase from that tech to PetTrio and things like that. But it's
Yeah.
really that utilization of the doctors there, showing us what the standard is, how they want it to be done, and just let us do us. And in that moment, if they see us not to standard, they wouldn't reprimand us. They'll just be like, "Hey, look, let's put you now to learn how to do, shaving properly for spays and neuters." And we would take it like, "Okay, well, hey, I'll go learn this one now." But I already have that set of skills for that, to where if I get to be thrown back in there, to the point that what kept me really that long there, and I think what kept the technicians alongside my fellow coworkers, was that ability that we would challenge each other.
Yeah.
We would honestly say, "Okay, man, let's see who can put this catheter in under a minute." Similar dogs, similar veins, similar dehydration patterns. Go. Boom. And we will keep that like that. And the doctors will be there knowing, but not knowing that
Yeah.
this is what's going on, but just see
That's
like, hey,
funny.
my team is efficient. They're
Yeah.
training each other. They're
Yeah.
getting better at their skill set. The animals are good. What better team would you want than your team, knowing that you got the symbiotic kind of relationship, to where everybody
Yeah.
is connected? And we were connected to the point, like, we wouldn't have to ask for anything. Like, we would know, damn, I got to get ready to put a catheter in. By the time I look back, my tapes are set up, alcohol there, my chlorhexidine flush is there. Like, everybody was connected without even talking. And we just flowed good like that,
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I
Yeah.
miss about, I think that's the main part that I miss, is like, that was a pivotal point in my life, to where I literally grew up, from 18 to 33 before I left, something like that. Like, that was an integral part in development me as as a kid to a boy to a man. And I built those relationships, and then now I can look back and be like, damn, man, I came a long way. And I just hope that the next generation has that same, I hope they get introduced to it like I was introduced to it, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't get that, to where maybe their first crack, they're stuck with a office manager that's like, nope, you stay in the kennel till you prove to me that you can pick up dog poop and feed the dogs scheduled on time, and then the tech in the back chopping out their gums, wanting to be in the treatment area, and being shunned down because the higher up tech is like, nah, you have to go through the same gamut of fire that I did. Like, stay there, stay down, But I was just fortunate that my first introduction was a homey family type environment, and I think it's because it was a private practice, not to poop on or shit on corporate animal hospitals out there, but I was just fortunate that I landed the right place at the right time, and I thank them every day to get me to this point, because I wouldn't have lasted there 10 years if they treated me like crap, And that's another thing.
Absolutely.
You gotta know your self-worth. You gotta know, hey, if you're not growing, and if you're not improving, whether it's in the job or in a relationship, professional or personally, that's not for you to be in. Like, go somewhere else to where you're valued, to where you can build up your skill set, and feel good about why you got into this profession.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like, even though you're not at that clinic anymore, in the ways that you are influencing in veterinary medicine, you're able to show that, right? You're able to talk to kids and speak to people who are coming up into the industry, and students in schools, and say, and give them, even if they're working in clinics, you can give them that like light to say that you have this, and there are people that are in your corner, right? So if they are in clinics that aren't as, homey and supportive as what you've experienced, any opportunity to show people that there are better opportunities out there, right, is important. Because I run into that too in leadership. I have conversations with people all the time where they're like, I wish you were my leader. And I'm like, guys, I hear you. But at the same time, there are others like me out there, I promise. Like, there's more than just the clinic you're in. And my goal is to try to get the message out there to the people that are in the clinics that they're in, that you can lead better than what you're leading, like how you're leading right now. And hopefully that seeps into some of those leaders. But, also to hit those technicians and assistants and people in those clinics to say, hey guys, if you're in a clinic that isn't treating you well, there are other places too that will. And there are people like me and like you that have experienced really great leadership and have those skills, and people around us that want to support us and want to see veterinary medicine succeed and be a positive.
And it's real simple. Like, you could be having a crap day, and for some reason, like, like in this case, like if a Dr. Winky would have been like, hey, Alex, good job on the catheter today. I was like, oh shit, this guy was watching. Like,
yeah,
damn,
it doesn't take much. Yeah,
it doesn't take much.
It, like, I know.
It doesn't take a raise for us to feel valued. It doesn't take a spaghetti party or a pizza party or donuts to be appreciated. A simple, hey, I see you, I'm watching.
I know.
Good job, man. And that's how you build off the loyalty, and that's how you build the team.
Drop. 100%,
that's how you build the team.
100%. I mean, I got nothing left. That's 100%. I think, I think the only thing that really is left is, how do you manage it all? You have these businesses, you have a charity, you're speaking. Like, how do you do all of that?
Yeah, it's obviously I got two boys. I got a 15-year-old boy, Kason, and my 5-year-old son, Caleb. Just me, single father. I have a mission. I have a mission, and I make the time, because people can say, oh, I only got 24 hours in a day, I don't have enough time. No, you make the time. Like, I don't need to be on Netflix for 3 hours, binge watching a show. Like, I could do that later on. I'd rather apply that towards, let me read this book real quick, let me listen to this podcast, let me go on LinkedIn, let me strategize a strategy on how I'm going to accomplish this with KlipTrio or PetTrio Charity. And then sprinkle being a father on there, sprinkle being a boyfriend on there, sprinkle being a son on there, sprinkle being a grandson.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
find the times for the things that are important to you. And I just kind of learned how to manage my time good to the point to where I'm like, I don't need to spend 3 hours on Netflix. Let me apply that. I'll go back to that show later. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be there saved on my list. It's not going anywhere, So it's just about managing your time and most
Yeah.
importantly, like, just manage your expectation on what you want in your life. Because even to this day, Suzanne, like my 6-year-old son is gonna be 16 now. He saw me day in and day out, scrubs, daddy in scrubs. Now he sees daddy in suits, daddy in scrubs, daddy's in a suit, daddy's in a
Yeah.
suit, daddy's on a Zoom, daddy's on a trip. Now he gets to see like, damn, all those grueling hours of seeing my dad putting in the
Yeah.
work, putting in the time. Now to him, I don't have to tell him how to build this leadership or how to have
Yeah.
work ethics. It's all being demonstrated because
Sees
I'm
it.
leading by example, and again, like
100%.
you find time for the things that you want in your life. And at the end of this, I want PetTrio Charity to be one of those legacy stamps. Like I saw, and I plan on leaving the industry better than when I got it because I want to give that to the next generation of students. And whether my name is on a plaque at a school that has these vet tech programs, that's good and dandy. But at the end of the day, I know that I came into this profession with a mission, with a vision, and I try to execute that mission until I'm no longer here. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. Okay. So I started this conversation saying that this wasn't going to be long, and here we are.
Yeah.
Uh, but I couldn't stop you. So here we are, right? That's totally fine. But I want to respect your time. So I will ask you one quick question because you just mentioned it. What is your one leadership book that if you like had to say one, and for me, like I don't know that I could pick one, but
Yeah.
like one book.
One book, one book, one book.
Oh, we're traveling.
I would have to say start with why.
Okay, Simon Sinek.
This one here, the reason why I mentioned that book is that if you always start with your why you started it, why you're doing this for, leadership will come to you automatically because that's like your North Star. That's always goes back to why did I start this to begin with? And when you go back to that, like me, things just started to fall into place or I started to connect the dots because I always went back to the why, what my main why was. So if I had to say a book on leadership, it'll definitely be the Start With Why.
Love it. And Alex, where can we find you? How can people interact with you?
Yeah, so they can find me on social media at KlipTrio. So that's KlipTrio. Hopefully, I'll get the PetTrio Charity one here in the future. But they can find me PetTrio Charity on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Obviously, the website pettriocharity.org or kliptrio.com. I got the TikTok as well for KlipTrio at KlipTrio. And obviously on LinkedIn under my name, Alexandre Contreras. And like I mentioned, I'm gonna continue plugging away. And hopefully I'll be that beacon of light to the next generation of techs out there to know like, hey, look, man, try this path because there's always going to be an in for you here and you can still be passionate about animals.
Absolutely. And now, real quick, for PetTrio Charity, is it just the website if people wanted to get involved?
Yeah, I believe on there I'm gonna start with the volunteer. Like I gotta start brainstorming now, like an arsenal of people I gotta start putting together because I know this implementation of January 2026 might require some help. So they can just
Yeah.
visit there, the newsletter, sign up, and as I get closer to fulfilling this vision that I have, I'll start putting out there, clips and things like that on social as well.
Awesome. Fantastic. I am super excited to watch you and see how all of that unfolds. So thank you
Perfect.
so much. And I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to Leading Veterinary Teams on Air. If this episode hit home, share it with a colleague, tag us on Instagram or TikTok, or leave a review. And don't forget to subscribe. It helps more leaders like you find their way. And remember, your job is not to do it all, it's to lead in a way that lasts. I'll see you next time.